welcome to another episode of the HLTB podcast. I'm your host, Paula, joined as always by Abadash.
What's up, everybody?
And today we got quite a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
From beaten to retire to what we've been playing. We have pretty much filled to the brim each and every list of those. For our discussion topic, we'll talk about special limited collector etc. editions in gaming, like why they are, why do some games get them, why are some physical or digital, our opinions, and finally the highlights, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And finally, we are up to our last round of Guess the Game, where we'll finally know if I get to pick whatever Otome game or like any cute and cozy game to play up until like the next 20 rounds of the game. Or if Josh is gonna pretty much take this glory away from me and pick something instead.
It's 1 point between us. Just 1 point.
Just 1 point. So it's anybody's game at this point. So, well, for a change, why don't I start talking about the games that I've beaten? Because holy crap,
You've done a few.
it's been I played a few games, not so many games.
Bit of a theme going on as well, I see.
Yeah, so as people that have been listening to you, as some of our dear listeners, I have been noticing Josh has been going through the Cubescape / Rust Lake games slowly but surely. And here I kind of like got that itch to replay them, but in the actual order they are supposed to be played. And I played quite a few of them. So first of all, I started with the Cubescape seasons like Earl's, Harvey's Books, Case 23, and The Mill. So those are 6 games. Which, by the way, probably like my favorites from this bunch is our seasons and Harvey's Books. Seasons because of the unique mechanics of jumping between the seasons and doing stuff that affects the later seasons.
Yeah.
And Harvey's Books because of how unique the setting is. Like, in this case, you're playing from the point of view of Harvey, who is a bird that has some bearing in like the other games. I then played and finished Rusty Lake Hotel, which still weird as fuck.
I like it though. That's one of my favorites so far.
Yeah, it was actually like one of my introductory games to Rusty Lake. I think the first one was Samsara Room, and then I played Rusty Lake Hotel. Yeah, I like it, but still, it is weird as fuck.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then I played Cubescape Birthday and Theater. Birthday being the one game that creeps me out the most because of a certain fucking rabbit magician. Then I finished Rusty Lake Roots, which it is the most different in my opinion, since you not only follow like the story of a particular character, you follow the story of a whole family of characters. I really enjoyed how their stories intertwine with one another. So yeah, that was like a highlight for me.
That one's also like one of the longest ones, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this one is like 2 to 3 hours. The only one that is that compares is Rusty Lake Paradise, which more on that later. But yeah, Rusty Lake Roots is probably like one of the longer, if not longest, of the Rusty Lake games. And the Cubescape games too. Then I took a little break from all the fuckery going on in these games because holy crap, there's a lot of lore going on here. And I played and finished A Little to the Left, which I got in the winter sale.
Nice.
And this game is so fucking satisfying to play.
It's cozy.
I didn't even I didn't even go like for 100% completion on this one because it seems that there are like daily puzzles.
Yep.
And also sometimes there are like more than one way to solve a particular puzzle. But I only like solve more than once like the puzzles that I either vibe with or like. So like as I was solving the puzzle in one way, I was like, hey, there's actually these other patterns, so I can do this in this other way.
Mm.
So yeah, the game is really satisfying in general. I really like the crying aesthetics. I didn't really vibe with the last section of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Since it went against a little bit of that more relaxing vibe that the game had going on with it, and suddenly there were like stakes on it.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed this game, and if you like organizing stuff, this is a game for you.
Indeed.
After that little, I actually, as I was playing, I saw that little notification on Steam that said that you were playing too.
Well, because they have done some free DLC updates, like since I played it, because I played it a while ago, and I did 100% it, where I did like, but you have to do something like 100 or something daily puzzles all in a row if you want to get all the
Holy crap.
achievements and everything. So it's a bit of a, you got to be dedicated.
Yeah.
So I saw you were playing it on Steam, and I thought, oh, I wonder if you played it before. But I looked at the page for the game, and they had like a news thing about an update. And I thought, oh, maybe they've added some more DLC. So I quickly installed it and like loaded it up to play and have a look. But it turns out that update was actually for a free DLC that they had already done, which I'd already played. So they did do like a short timed thing over Christmas where it was only available for like a couple of weeks and then it was taken away again.
Oh.
So I think I missed that because I'd kind of uninstalled it and not really paying attention to it anymore. But other than that, yeah, I'd pretty much done everything else. So I did load it up while you were playing it because you kind of reminded me it existed. But I didn't end up playing very much of it anyway. So yeah. Good game though.
It was kind of funny, like to see you like putting up the game too. It was like, oh, I guess just because I started the game, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Just made me think of it.
That was kind of funny. After that little teacher, I went back to the Giftscape the Cave, and that has to be like my least favorite Giftscape games. Like the first part, I was okay with. It was like usual Giftscape, but then there's like the submarine part, and that one it always takes me off it.
Yeah, I remember that wasn't the best. Still good, but not the best.
Yeah. Since I already knew how it worked, it was easier on me. But the first time playing, I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I fumbled my way around the place before figuring it out. Then I played Rusty Lake Paradise, which, holy crap, this game was weird. But it was like the good Rusty Lake, so I didn't mind it as much. And also, like this time around, I took notes. Like the first time I played these games, I didn't really take notes, so it was a little bit harder on me. But this time around, I took like all the notes, so I was able to do stuff without having to run back and forth trying to remember what the hell like that combination was.
Because remind me, Paradise, I know I only played it not so long ago, but that's the one with all the plagues. Is that right?
Yeah, the 10 plagues.
Okay, yep, cool. I remember now.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Paradise is that you cannot like solve 10 overarching puzzles.
Yeah.
But they're like very chapter size or chapter dynamics. So you solve one puzzle, go to the next, you solve the other puzzle, go to the next. and they don't really have a bearing on each other. So it is good if you're like, you don't have a lot of time, but still want to play like some Rust Lake, and you have like bite-sized experiences on it. Which is like the way I played it, because I don't know what I was distracted with at that time, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna play like a couple of plagues, and then like, okay, I'm gonna play a couple more plagues, and then go to do the other thing. And finally, the last game I finished, since I finished all 3 main Rusty Lake games plus the whole Cubescape collection, I went through a Cubescape Paradox, which is actually like the one that was the fresher in my memory, because it was the one I played like probably like between August and December. I don't remember when, but that one was fresh in my mind, so I pretty much rushed through it and was less confused. So I was able to take all the awareness in. And I have to say, playing the Cubescape and Rusty Lake games, like in whatever order versus the order that are meant to be played, it does make a big difference. Like, it makes all the difference. So please, if you're going to play these games, play it like in the order intended by the developers. And I think they actually like responded to a thread on Steam and said like, hey, this is the order so far, so if you want like to make the most of your playthrough, go through this order. And yeah, it makes all the difference. Like they were like, I think I played either like all the Rust Lake games first and then the Cubescape games, and there were like weird bits and bobs in the Cubescape games that I didn't quite understand, like when in the chronology happened, and now it makes all the sense, and it was wonderful. I do want to play. I think the next one is the White Door. And somewhere after that is Samsara Room, which is also a Rusty Lake game. Which at the time that I actually played that one first, and it was like the last one in the chronology, so I had no idea what was going on. There is another game that you mentioned called Underground Blossoms. And there's the 2-player game called The Boss Within. So I think those are the games that I have left.
Well, hopefully we can sync up and play The Pass Within together, because that would be fun.
Yeah, that was the plan, actually. That was
because you're ahead of me at the moment. So
yeah, I'll try to take it easier-ish. Anyway, what have you beaten in this? It wasn't even like a week. I think it's been a couple of weeks since we last recorded.
Yeah, it's been a few, because this is the first time we're recording since before Christmas, where we're actually talking about games. So, well, I mean, the best place to start is I did play Rusty Lake Roots. I played Cubescape The Cave, and that finished off the collection. And I played Rusty Lake Paradise. So Paul's already mentioned those as well. But one of the things I like about playing them in the order is, like you say, they kind of make more sense. And I haven't played them out of order. I've just been playing them. This is my first time playing them entirely. So, but I'm not very good with keeping up with lots of different characters and lots of different names. So
must have been a nightmare.
So Rusty Lake Roots, half the time I'm just like, I forget, because some of the clues as well refer to names. And because it's kind of over a time period, it's like characters who've grown up and whatever, moved on and done different things with their lives. But I'm like, is that the guy from before? Or but I find, having done it in this order, there's a lot of, there is actually a bit of a linear kind of narrative that goes through it that helps it make sense in my head anyway. But I especially like the stuff around, say, Rusty Lake Hotel and Roots, where there's a bit of crossover there as well with the other games. And like one of my favorite parts in, I think it was in Roots, is where you kind of look through some binoculars to the hotel and you see the
Yeah, it
characters
wasn't really.
from Rusty Lake Hotel in there.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of a fun kind of callback to them and what's going on over there kind of thing. And you're like, oh, I know what's happening in this world. So yeah, they're really fun. I've still got obviously the rest to play. Cube Escape Paradox is my next one, which even though it's a Cube Escape game, it's a standalone game on Steam, whereas the rest of the Cube Escape games are in the collection. So I'm interested to see why, if there is a reason. But having not played it, I'm not sure. So
Mainly Paradox is a bigger game. And even though it is free on Steam, Chapter 1 is free and Chapter 2 is DLC.
Ah, cool. Okay. Well,
a heads up before you discover it through playing.
I hope I've got both of them then. I did buy the bundle, so I'm assuming it came with everything. So it was like the everything Rusty Lake bundle. So
Nice.
So yeah, other than that, I finished The Next World, which was the kind of survival visual novel sci-fi game that I was playing through, and I have been playing through for a few episodes now. Really liked it. It actually surprised me with how much fun it was and how invested I got by the end of it, because there was this whole kind of subplot of you've crash landed on an alien planet and you're trying to survive as a colony and scavenge resources and that sort of thing. But then someone's trying to sabotage you and you find out you're not alone on the planet and that maybe there's some nefarious things happening in the background, and you kind of uncover all this and you have to deal with it. And that's like the culmination of the story is either you've dealt with it or you haven't. So, but it was actually really good. There's a whole sequence where you're, even though it's presented in like a visual novel style, there's a whole sequence where you're making choices about a big fight that you're in, like a battle. And so you're, depending on where you go and what you choose to do will depend on how successful you are and all that kind of stuff. And it's obviously like a choose your own adventure kind of thing, but it actually felt really good when I was doing it. And it felt, they managed to make it feel not like you're just reading a book kind of thing. It actually felt kind of action based, as much as a visual novel can kind of thing. So, but yeah, a good little game. Like as I say, I found it by just randomizing my library and it popped out, and I'm glad I tried it, because if I was just browsing my library, I probably never would have, it wouldn't have stood out or anything, because it was one of those random things I got in a bundle somewhere, or, in a discount somewhere or something like that. So I'm going to keep doing that. I also played Pony Island, which was the game of the month for January. We can talk about it more probably in another episode, but it's a good game. I really liked it. I actually nominated it for January, so yay me. It's an older game, and I realized that I actually had seen quite a bit of it on YouTube before. Once I actually started playing it, I was like, oh, I've seen this, yeah. And the whole premise of the game is basically, I think it's the same developer who made Inscription more recently.
Really?
I think so. I'm not 100%, but I'm about 99% sure. And they're making a Pony Island 2 as well. And apparently a lot of their games have the same sort of themes where there's like meta stuff going on. And no spoilers, this is the very beginning of the game, but you start playing Pony Island and it's this game where you're a pony on an island just jumping around like a platformer. And very quickly you realize that the game itself kind of starts falling apart, and there's puzzles which involve recoding the game itself so that you can give yourself better advantages in the game and that sort of thing. Then the game starts to actively work against you. So you have to try and like use some subterfuge to kind of go against the game itself by breaking the game. And there's some really cool meta moments where it's like breaks the fourth wall or that kind of stuff. It feels like it's actually fucking with you and fucking with your computer. And I really enjoy that kind of stuff. There were parts of the game which were kind of crap, like that you have to do. Like there's it's broken into this kind of platforming pony game, which is called Pony Island, funnily enough, and kind of puzzle elements, which is where you shift kind of bits of code around to make it do stuff that it's not meant to do. The puzzles for me anyway were really simple, so they were kind of boring. And the platformy bit is kind of like a endless runner where you just have to like jump and shoot and you're just constantly moving across the screen. And that got kind of frustrating in areas because especially towards the end of it, there are more difficult kind of areas. And if you fuck it up, you have to start right from the beginning again. And I fucked it up a lot, but you have to kind of beat it to progress in the overall game, which is not just those elements. And yeah, it's very interesting though. It's very cool. And there's a lot of, a lot. There's a few key moments where you're kind of like, oh, wow, that was surprising. And I wasn't expecting that at all. And anyone who's played it probably knows what I'm talking about, because there are some key moments where that kind of stuff happens, where it takes you a second to actually realize that it's the game fucking with you. It's not actually happening on your computer. So kudos for that. I really enjoyed that. And I know Inscription is on PlayStation Plus, so I'm even more inclined to go play that now, because after playing Pony Island, I'm like, okay, I see where we're going with this. And maybe they've taken it further with Inscription. And I think there was an older game as well before Pony Island called like The Hex or something, I want to say. And I do have that in my library as well, so I'm definitely going to be checking that out. But yeah, great game of the month. You know, it's not the best game ever made, but I think it's a really interesting one. And in my mind, that's kind of the best kind of game of the month to have, is something that's interesting, even if it's not amazing. So other than that, I very happily, probably my favorite game I've played in the last couple of weeks, well, one of the best ones is Dangeresque, the Roomisode Triungulate.
That is a weird name.
It is. So anyone who's been around the internet as long as I have, might have heard of a website called homestarrunner.com with a character called Strongbad, who got famous on Flash animations of him reading emails that people sent him. And he's this character who's looks like a luchador wrestler kind of guy. But that's really got nothing to do with anything. He just happens to look like that. And he answers these emails in humorous ways. And there's just a series of funny cartoons that are the Strongbad cartoons. And one of his characters that he plays is a hard-boiled cop who's like a real 80s kind of take on a go against the rules kind of cop from movies and stuff, called Dangeresque, because he's Dangeresque. And and it turns out there was a series of video games. There are other Strongbad games as well that I've played, but there was a series called Dangeresque, the Roomisode games, because they're called Roomisodes because they're like point and click games, but each episode is in a single room location.
Oh, that's actually smart.
So the reason it's called then the Roomisode Triungulate is because it's a collection of all 3 episodes in the one game. So the Triungulate is like making it sound wanky about it being 3 games. And it's purposefully a dumb title because it's that kind of game where it's funny and just making fun of itself the whole time. And for fans of the cartoons and the characters and everything, it's definitely worth playing. For people who have no idea what I'm talking about, you can miss it quite easily, and you probably won't miss anything that you wish you hadn't. Because there's a lot of references to the series. There's a lot of characters who they don't really introduce. They're just there. So if you don't know who they are, you might wonder why the hell they look the way they do, or why the hell they are the way they are, because they're all a bit weird and wonderful anyway. But and there's like constant jokes and everything throughout it, which are very much like in jokes, where you've kind of got to have seen the original Dangeresque cartoons that were on the website to kind of get the jokes in the game. So all that to say, if you're a fan of Strongbad and you're a fan of Homestar Runner, these are really good point and clicks, and they're really fun. They're quite simple, but there's a lot of good jokes in there. I was laughing my ass off the whole time, and it was really fun seeing all the characters and how they kind of included them and that sort of thing. But if that's not really something that sounds good to you, then yeah, by all means skip it, because you probably won't understand what's happening anyway. I eventually finished another game which I'd started a long time ago, which people might have heard me talk about, called Endling, Extinction is Forever, and AKA the most depressing game I've ever played.
Holy crap.
In recent times, I should say, probably. This is the one where you play as a fox who has some cubs, and at the start of the game, you're just like in a nice little environment and everything, and you basically leave your den every day, or every night, I should say, to go find food for your cubs and explore and do that kind of stuff. But as days go on, humans start moving in and like cutting down the forest and polluting the area and building factories and roads and stuff, and one of your cubs gets taken by a poacher. So part of your gameplay is to try and find where they've taken them and all this kind of stuff. So the whole game is you as a fox basically trying to survive as humans come in and fuck up the whole environment. And there's a reason it's called Extinction is Forever, because the ending is as sad as you could fucking imagine it could be.
No.
And it messed with my head. I finished it and I'm like, fuck you. Like, there's no,
like, fuck you and give me back my tears.
yeah, it's just, it's great because it's realistic and it's making a point about humans encroaching on habitats and all that kind of stuff, which is not something you see a lot of in video games. So I'm kind of glad to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, it is so sad. And there are some moments which are just, I can imagine someone actually having a really hard time playing through some of the very end moments in the last parts of the game, because they're traumatic, to be honest. Like,
No.
but kind of makes it a really good game. And I think it's actually part of Humble Choice this month, I want to say, or it's on something like that at the moment, or it's really cheap or somewhere. I don't know. If anyone's interested, I suggest going to find it, because at the moment you can get it cheap, or you can get it as part of Humble Choice or something like that. I can't remember, but it's definitely worth playing. It's only like a few hours to play, but it's really interesting. It's really unique and full on, and yeah, just get the tissues handy when you get to the end. So
You heard it first, folks. Save up in the game so you have more money to pay for therapy later.
exactly. And then a couple of other games I finished, which were not anywhere near as depressing or as good, but another random one from my library was one called Traverser, which is like it's a top-down 3D modeled point and click adventure essentially, but you use like WSD to move around, but you click on things to interact with them and that sort of thing. And it's set in a future where the sun is no more, and you live in a city that's kind of underground between the core of the earth and the surface. And it's got this weird authoritarian government control, because oxygen is like a commodity that they control, and you don't always have access to, but you obviously want access to it because you want to breathe.
They literally charge you for breathing.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, you get bottles that you have to then plug into your house as if it's like a gas tank, so that you have oxygen in your house. But you play as a young girl whose father gets kidnapped because he's an inventor who invented a lot of the technology that helps everyone live. And you go on this journey of basically to kind of uncover the conspiracies and overthrow the big bad guys, and, fight the rebellion and all that kind of stuff. And the main gameplay is that you have this kind of glove that is like a gravity glove, so you can pick up things in the environment and move them around, like just make them float around and shift them and stuff, like a gravity gun from Half-Life, but it's a glove. And that's pretty much your only method of attacking, so to speak. So you want to spend more of your time like just hiding from bad guys, or like you can hide in barrels and then like sneak around, and they won't know it's you. They'll just think it's a barrel. And yeah, it's a really interesting game because it felt quite different to anything I've played before, but it's still quite, it's no AAA. The animations are a bit limited. But I enjoyed playing it, and they had some interesting ideas in there and some fun sections where, as you're exploring through the city and discovering new things and stuff, they did a lot of good storytelling with all the world building and that sort of thing, which I always enjoy quite a lot. And then finally, there's a game called Absolver, which I think a lot of people would have heard of, perhaps. It's the melee fighting Souls-like from a few years ago, and it's just a weird game where they don't really tell you anything, but the fighting system is really in depth, because you have like different stances, and you have a stamina meter, and you basically cruise around this map, very Souls-like kind of map where it's all kind of interconnected, and you meet other fighters who then fight you. And as you fight them, you kind of learn their moves, and that helps you develop more moves for yourself. But you also then gain levels and stuff, so you get stronger and whatever. And after you've defeated a whole bunch of bosses on the map, you go and defeat the final boss, and then, game over. Good on you. I originally played it ages ago and retired it, but for some reason decided to pick it up again and actually managed to finish it. So, rad. It's very difficult and challenging, and I don't feel like I ever kind of fully grasped the fighting system because it's so complex. It's like playing a complex 2D fighting game, but just button mashing and not really understanding what the combos do, or like counters and parries and different blocks and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I'm not that invested. But thankfully I managed to get through by grinding my way through it, and it didn't end up being that long after all. So when I first played it, I retired because I thought, oh my God, this is going to take me like 100 hours just to get anywhere. But I think it ended up only taking like 5 or 6 maybe hours to finish. So
it's quite certain. Especially like for ourselves, like.
Yeah. Well, and to divert a little before I talk about the couple of games I've retired, and then I'll shut up. One of the other things I've been playing around with over the holiday break is just an application called Play Night, which is a video game library manager. If anyone's aware of what GOG Galaxy is trying to do, it's basically that, but an open source, very lightweight version of what GOG Galaxy is trying to do. So basically what it is it's an application. You put in all your game accounts, so my Steam account, my Ubisoft account, my Origin account, every account, Amazon, whatever else, EA, blah, blah, blah. And it imports all your data into one library so that you can look at all your games that are on your PC, because this is a PC thing. And you can sort them through different tags and create different kind of collections and that kind of thing to basically find and explore your library a bit better. And because I have a very large library of PC games, there's like, when I put all my different applications together, there's like 5,000 games that I have available to me. So that includes itch as well and all that kind of stuff. So, there's so many games that you can go through. But
those are many games.
Once you've got it all imported and everything, and you've imported tags especially, then you can look through all the tags, and there's an exhaustive, like hundreds and hundreds of tags that basically talk about anything that's in the game. And you might go, all right, I want to play something that has, I don't know, let's say it's got skiing in it. I want to play a game that's got skiing in it. So I look up a tag for skiing, and it'll list everything in my library that has that tag involved. Or if I want to play an FPS, I can look up every FPS that I have available to me. And it's cool because it does multiple libraries instead of just looking in Steam or just looking in Epic or whatever. Because I often then ignore other libraries like my Epic library, or, even smaller ones like the Amazon Prime library and other things like that, where there's probably a smaller amount of games in there, but there are some good ones in there. So by having it all in one place, it's much easier to surface things that might otherwise get overlooked. And that's why I played a couple of games which I ended up retiring. So one game I played was called Under Zero, which is on Steam, and it's kind of like a survival. It says survival horror, but it's not really. It's basically there's a beast that kind of will chase you on a map while you explore.
So Alien?
Kind of in a way, but think super, super janky and shit.
Oh, crap.
And you're pretty much there. I lost about 5 minutes basically in this game. It's like first-person exploration, so it's like a walking simulator, but there is this enemy that's there that you've got to try and avoid at all times. And it starts you off, and you basically walk into this area, for want of a better word. It's like not very good graphics, but there's like a building to your left and there's a building to your right, so you can explore either one. But as I go closer to the one on the left, there's someone moving around in the distance, and I'm like waited and looked and everything, and it's this janky kind of monster animation kind of moving around this building. So I'm like, okay, so I went off to the right to the other building, had a look around, it was pretty boring, whatever, came back, just kind of stood in the middle of the area, and this monster obviously saw me and came towards me, and it was one of those things where it's like janky animation right up to you, and then the screen goes black and it's like game over, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Like retired. So yeah, Under Zero, not not my cup of tea. But it's a game that's in my library already, and I've tried it and gone, yep, don't need that anymore. Knocked it off the list and moved on to something else. Another game I played was one called Vigil Blood Bitterness, which is actually really cool, but it's old and janky enough that it's really hard to get running. And I ended up having to retire it because I basically ran into a bug that stopped me progressing. So this game is essentially a point and click. It's a very weird, abstract, kind of cult-themed or occult-themed weird game where you are this character who basically wakes up next to a dead body and you work your way through this building from like a top-down perspective when you like click where you want to walk and that kind of thing. And you find altars where you have to pray at, and there's like letters that you find that are all about demons and stuff, and puzzles you have to solve by like basically praying at certain altars in a certain order to unlock things. And it's very, very weird. And I'm not quite sure what the story was about, but it was something about, death and afterlife and demons and whatever. I don't know. The art style, though, is very, very cool because it's like high contrast, 100% black or white. So all the graphics are very stark and very contrasty because it's 100% like black or white. There's very little grays in there or anything. And it makes for a very cool looking game. At least I think so. I looked at some reviews and people freaking hate it, but I thought it looked cool. And I was plugging away and I was playing away and getting through it and kind of enjoying myself and kind of progressing. But then there's a part where you have to kind of stand at a certain spot, because I ended up looking it up to find out what I was doing wrong. But you essentially have to stand in a certain spot to open a doorway. But no matter where I stood or what I did, I was not able to open that doorway. And I tried for like a good half an hour just kind of clicking around, just randomly clicking, trying to be really precise, doing whatever, and it just wouldn't happen for me. So I couldn't progress. So I'm like, well, that's that. Plus, to get the thing running, because it's an old PC game that's a bit janky anyway, you kind of have to find a guide on the Steam forums which tells you to, first of all, run it in compatibility mode for Windows XP Service Pack 3, and then don't make it any larger than 1024 by 768 resolution, because that breaks the game. As in, if you make it larger and click outside of that resolution, it won't know that what you're doing, and it'll just be like, nothing's happening. And then during the game, there's a lot of video cutscenes that are played, like pre-rendered videos. Whenever it plays one of those, it goes to full screen, but because of the age of the game and all that kind of stuff, it's just a black screen, so you have to Alt-Enter to take it out of full screen so that you can actually see the videos. And then when the video stops playing, it goes back to full screen, so you have to Alt-Enter again to take it out of full screen. So that's happening all the time. And yeah, it's it's a shame because it's quite a unique, weird, very indie kind of strange game. And I would have loved to have played it through, but unfortunately, it's just too old and too janky to really get past any of that. It. Yeah, which is a shame because it was actually, I was enjoying myself and I was kind of starting to piece together what's going on even. And yeah, but I had to retire it just even though I really didn't want to. But yeah, I don't recommend anyone go check it out because just getting it running took me like half an hour. So it's interesting, but not fantastic. However, I do recommend people check out Play Night if that's something that sounds interesting to you. Because my problem with GOG Galaxy, which tries to do the same thing, it tries to make all your libraries appear in GOG Galaxy. But GOG Galaxy, for me anyway, could not handle large libraries where there's like thousands of games being dealt with. So it's just useless to me and I stopped using it. Whereas this one seems to actually work.
Got pretty much like 5,000 games. I'm booked out. Like I'm done.
Yeah,
I don't get paid enough for this.
Pretty much. And yeah, I stopped using GOG Galaxy ages ago for anything more than GOG games. But now Play Night seems to be the way to go. So I'm looking forward to checking that out further.
Nice.
But man, have I crapped on for long enough. It's been a good few weeks of games playing. So before I talk about a few more that I have been playing, Paula, please rescue us from my prattle and tell us all about what you've been doing.
Okay, from one junky experience to another junky experience. So I've been playing Apescape, like that one game for PS1 where you have to catch monkeys. Yeah, I've been playing that on a PS5 because nothing screams like using a very new system to play a very old game. Okay, jokes aside, what happened is that my since I'm taking care of my sister's dog, she also left me her PS5 so I could try out games or play stuff. And
Nice.
since my boyfriend came like yesterday, we were looking through the games that we could to see like we could play. And out of sheer curiosity, I went through the classics and he saw Apescape and that's one of his childhood games that he remembers fondly. So he was like, "Hey, you want to play that?" So yeah, yesterday it was pretty much me figuring out the controls of Apescape because, well, nothing shouts PS1 like um having that one screen that says the dual shock is required to play the game.
Yep.
And that one screen told me, yeah, you're up for a very interesting time here. So in Escape, the quote unquote story is that you and your friend are going to visit like this mad scientist, and you get there and he's like tied down, and apparently the monkeys travel back in time to change the course of history, and you need to go back in time to stop them. That's the gist of the game. So you have a lightsaber or a sword, I don't know what it is, so you can stun the monkeys, and you have the net, so you can a time net, so you can send them back in time to so they stop fucking around on the past, because what they want to do is to change the course of history and make the monkeys like the apex species that rules the world pretty much.
Nice.
So first of all, the controls got took some getting used to, since even though you're using the DualShock, uh, you use the left stick to move, which is the normal part. But to move like the sword and the net, you use the right stick. And I'm like, why? And how do you control the camera? Well, to move the camera around, you pretty much have to stand in place, press one of the left shoulder buttons, and have the camera like go to the back of the character. And you kind of like control the camera that way. So trying to maneuver between chasing the monkey, turning the camera because the monkey went out of sight, and try to hit the monkey with the net was quite the ordeal. Um, so I haven't played Skyward Sword on the Switch. I've only played like via motion controls on the Wii, which is a Zelda game where you move the sword with the motion controls. And the funny thing is that they kind of do the same thing, like, but instead of having like the shoulder button to adjust the camera, you use like the button to activate between moving like to swap between moving the camera or moving the sword. I have to say, in Escape, having the ability to hit like something you're not quite seeing, like behind the character with the sword, is kind of weird. Though it's been a good time so far, mainly because it is kind of like a 3D platformer, and I suck at those.
Yeah, that would be me too.
Yeah, so my boyfriend has seen me struggling between fighting my natural nemesis, which is the 3D platforming. And he has been laughing quite a bit about it. Um, but he also sees like my reactions to the controls, and then the monkeys are like laughing at me pretty much. Like, it's bad when you're like chasing that monkey and then that monkey goes out of screen, and then it comes back as if it's mocking you, and then runs away again. I'm like, holy fuck, you son of a bitch monkey. So even though it's taking some getting used to the controllers and can be a bit frustrating at times, it at the very least it has been a good time in terms of laughing.
Nice.
So yeah, and we were laughing about the fact that hey, we have a PS5. Let's play an old PS1 game.
Yeah, obviously that's the first one you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, we did download a couple of games which are like Mayukachu, and what was the other game that were like multiplayer games on more modern hardware.
Mm.
But we didn't play those. We played Apescape. So yeah.
Awesome.
I've also been playing Code Realize Winter Dare Miracles. I'm still on Fran's first Christmas scenario. It's quite sweet. I'm very happy, so I'm taking my time here. I've also been playing The White Door. I'm just at the start of the game. It is like the next game in the Rusty Lake Games lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is weird because instead of being like a first person point and click kind of game, it's more of a top down game. Well, you do solve things like in a point and click manner, and in a more first person kind of view, but you're that in a particular room and you very much have to move the character around to get to the things you need to see and move and stuff like that. It's an interesting game. And finally, I started a new Otome game.
Nice.
Because we were talking with Josh via Discord, and he was like, hey, I see a lot of gaming and not much Otome. And I'm like, it is time to fix that. So I fix it. So the game I'm playing is Virushana Rising Flower of Genpei. That is a mouthful, if I say so myself. And the thing with this game is that it's more kind of like historical setting fiction, as far as I'm aware of, because I'm still like very early in the game. And you play as this girl called Chanel. But Chanel being that is kind of like her public name because she's been pretending to be she's been like pretty much she's been growing up and she's been pretty much like told that she cannot she cannot reveal like her true gender because she's a girl, but everyone thinks she's a man.
Right.
So this is kind of like an interesting setting because, well, I've seen this in I think 2 times. One, well, at the very least with the main protagonist, like, well, one is in a movie called Mulan where she pretty much pretends to be a guy to take her father's place in the army.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a Hakuoki, which is like kind of like in the time where the Shinsengumi were a thing in Japan. And the protagonist is traveling in search of her father, but she dresses as a man in hopes that would attract less attention from people with ill intent, since she's traveling alone from Edo to Kyoto.
Mm-hmm.
I think she chooses to dress up as a man and try to act like one, and then she gets wrapped up on. I mean, she gets dragged into stuff, and she has to still pretend to be a man because otherwise that would cause chaos. But in this case, you have someone who has been acting as a man like her whole life. So I'm pretty curious, like, where this is leading to. because in the other two games you have those moments where she's trying to think like, hey, how do men act? Okay, I'm gonna do this. Or like, how do men talk? Okay, I'm gonna try to do this. Well, in this case, you have someone who has been living under that mindset like her whole life. So I feel like this is gonna be quite interesting. Right now, I have like zero memory of the people who I've met so far. Uh, because I'm horrible with names, and at the time I was playing this, I was in a treadmill and I wasn't quite. I didn't have anything to write on, so I only like took screenshots. But silly me, I didn't take screenshots of some character names. But anyway, so Chanel kind of lives in I'm gonna say like a temple or of some kind, like in the middle of the forest, just out of the skirts of Kyoto, I'm gonna say, but I'm not quite sure. At the very least, she lives like on the skirts of some city or bigger city. It's actually good. Um, and people tend to want to get rid of her because she's supposed to be the only living son of some important person who was taken out of a power position some time ago, and the current clan that is like in charge of the city, kind of like I think it was the Heke or something like that. They want her out of the picture because she's a menace. Like she's like the one beacon of hope for a lot of people that are against Heke. The thing is, she's been training swordsmanship pretty much all her life. So whoever, like, they try to send like assassins against her, but she usually gets them every time. But after like one of the characters from this clan sees her like taking out the assassins that were sent after her, and she has like some sort of psychic, I'm gonna say, that is more like her. It's supposed to be like her servant or kind of, but they were like they grew together, so she's more. She sees her. She sees him more as a friend rather than a servant, but they have like that servant master relationship. And this guy that sees everything happening says, hey, you're Chanel, I want to challenge you to a duel. And after which it happened, he says like, hey, so there's this guy called Benke, I think it was, running around Kyoto and pretty much like challenging samurai and taking their swords. He's a pain in the butt. So let's make him like the prize or like the goal instead of fighting each other because political reasons. So the first one to catch him wins. So that's how the game pretty much starts. They give the protagonist a reason to go to Kyoto, custom travel, pretty much meet everyone in the main cast.
Nice.
Also, I don't know if these spoilers of it was in the promotion material, so I'm gonna put like spoiler alert right there, just in case. But Chanel seems to have some kind of power because, like, they were like kind of like against the wall at some point, and her friend was under like very grave danger, and she has this surge of power, and pretty much overpowers everyone. They escape and she passes out for like half a day.
Cool.
And it seems to be a recurring thing in her life at some point. So I was expecting pretty much a historical thing, and then I got a fantasy thing to boot. So I'm kind of like confused at this point of what to expect. So I'll be reporting back on that whenever I continue playing this. But so
Nice.
far, it's the game itself has been like set up like quite nicely. Like the only thing that surprised me or like was kind of like bullshit so far was the strange power that she has. So I expect her to explain, like, please share with the class what was that. um and uh pretty much like see what this is all about. But she's like very well written out so far. The characters seem to be very interesting in their own ways, and also the political situation is, even though it's quite confusing because there are like a lot of names that are literally foreign to me. um it's been like it's been quite interesting. Like it adds like a little bit of flavor to this world and why is it like that and stuff like that.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to more of the game. Also, the voice acting is very good, and the game is beautiful. Like, I have to research like who the lead artist was, but they knocked it out of the park. So yeah, that's all I've been playing.
Very cool.
Josh, take it away before I talk out to my I chatter to my heart's content on the next section.
Yeah, so I have just a few games that I have kind of played, but obviously not finished yet. That I started over the Christmas break and that sort of thing. I've been playing Teardown on PlayStation 5. So if you're looking for games on PlayStation 5, Teardown is a fun one. It's a more recent game. It's basically a demolition game, but also a puzzle game. So although it's first person, and I know you're not so hot on first person, so see how you go with that. But for anyone who doesn't know, essentially you're like a demolitions expert, and you get hired to go into areas. Usually there's like quite a large-ish area of warehouses and machinery and different buildings and all this kind of stuff. And you get asked to either go in and just demolish everything, or go in and like steal stuff like vehicles or documents or safes or things like that. And the whole premise of the game is that it's a voxel built environment. So everything can be broken down into little squares or little cubes, and you have a range of tools at your disposal with which to destroy everything. So if you're trying to be precise, there might be, say, you might have to steal a couple of cars from a location, but the cars are actually on opposite sides of the map and they're hooked up to alarms. So you need to figure out some way of, as soon as you steal a car and unhook it from the alarm, a timer starts counting down. You've got like a minute left before you're going to get found out, and you basically have to do everything and escape within that time. So if there's multiple cars or something you want to steal, then you need to figure out a way to get to them all and get them all back to your truck within the time limit. Otherwise, you're going to get found out and caught. So the way you do that is by essentially pre-planning everything, because you've got as much time as you want to pre-plan. And you can even do stuff like blow holes in walls to give yourself a more direct, quick path to your next objective. Or you can do things like, one of the levels you have to steal a whole bunch of safes from around this mansion. But as soon as they've got like wet or moisture detectors and it's raining outside, so if you take it outside, it gets wet and then an alarm goes off and then your time starts ticking down.
Oh.
So one of the ways that I solved that was, there was a semi-trailer on the property. So I like blast a hole in the wall, back the semi-trailer up and put one of the safes on the semi-trailer, drive it around to the next location, keeping it dry because the safe is in the trailer. Blast a hole in the next wall, pull that safe out into the semi-trailer as well, and basically gather a whole bunch of safes like that. And then as soon as I'm ready to go, dump them all in the water, the alarms go off, I run to my escape vehicle and bugger off. And so it's that kind of game where you kind of have to get creative with it, because there's a whole bunch of different vehicles around as well, which you can use to like drive through walls and things like machinery, like building machinery and stuff. There are things like gas bottles which explode. There are the tools you have are things like you've got a blowtorch, so you can cut through metal and you can use that to cut down fences and things. Or you've got bombs, which is just basically blast holes in whatever you plant them on. Or you've got just a sledgehammer, so you can like knock down certain walls with that. But if it's a stronger wall, like a brick wall or something, you might need something with a bit more oomph. So later in the game, you get other things like a rocket launcher. So you can literally just shoot rockets at a building and it'll explode the wall. And it's very, very satisfying because, yeah, turns out that demolishing buildings and stuff is a lot of fun. Especially when the physics is good like they are in this game. So it's a little bit unrealistic sometimes because you can basically knock down every single wall except for like one little bit and the building will still be standing. And then as soon as you knock out that last little bit, the whole thing kind of tumbles down. So there's not so much weight, but there are physics involved for when it does kind of fall over and everything. But
Hey Josh, your lawyer called. They say to stop talking about demolishing buildings the way you're doing because it seems that you're like quite knowledgeable about it.
Well, the funny thing is that part of the story of the game is that you keep getting hired by opposite people. So like one guy hires you to like fuck up some other dude's business. Then that guy hires you going, oh, this guy fucked up my business. Go fuck up his business. And you're like, okay. And you keep going back and forth like that a lot. And
that's beautiful.
it's a really, really fun game. It's very challenging as well. Like there are some objectives which you're just never going to get on this first run. You have to kind of try it a few times and plan out different strategies and things because the maps can be quite large and you've really got to plan out how to get across them once the alarm's off and you know you're against the clock. So yeah, I've been playing my way through that. That's a lot of fun. Definitely a very fun puzzle game and a different kind of puzzle game because it's not so much like it's more a strategy tactics kind of puzzle game as opposed to solving a cipher or a code or something. So that's cool. Also, last year we with our big Game of the Year special, which if you haven't heard it, listeners, please go check it out. It was a lot of fun. And when we were talking to Tiamat on that, he mentioned Dragon Quest Builders as having played it himself and enjoyed it. And at the time I was like, man, I need a podcast game. I need the perfect kind of game that I can listen to podcasts or watch a movie even or something and just kind of plug away with and play a game while I'm doing that. And Dragon Quest Builders sounded like that game. So after talking to Tiamat and him recommending it, I looked it up and yes, it's on PlayStation Plus. So I installed it and started playing it. And yeah, it's exactly that game. And I'm enjoying it. It's not really that in depth. It's very kind of, at least where I'm up to. I'm in the very first stages of the game, but yeah, it's fun enough because there's no time limits on anything. There's no requirements for anything. Like it's just progress as you want to and whenever you feel like it, kind of thing. It's that kind of chill game where there are no real demands. You can just kind of cruise around and explore for a while if you want, or you can be really task oriented and progress the narrative a bit further, or you can just, yeah, try things out, explore things, fight some slime dudes, you know, just have some fun. So it's a little bit frustrating because when you're doing the building, the precision of like where you place blocks and stuff can be a little bit finicky because you're trying to face your character where you want to place the block and then kind of place it. But it's very easy to kind of go too far one way or the other. And yeah, but you know, that's a minor complaint really. Ultimately, I'm just enjoying building buildings and finding people to join my little town at the moment. So yeah, I haven't got heaps far into it, but it's a good one. I've also been playing Injustice 2 on PlayStation 5, which, if anyone remembers the first Injustice, it's a NetherRealm fighting game, the guys who make Mortal Kombat, except it's all superheroes. So DC and Marvel, or mostly DC, I think. Oh, now I'm questioning myself.
I don't know, the name sounds like DC.
Yeah, I think it is DC. It's Justice League kind of stuff. So, but everyone's in it, and Injustice 2 kind of the story of the game. Obviously, it's a 2D fighting game, so there's the whole fighting thing where it's just pick a character, fight another character kind of thing. But I actually really like the stories in these games because NetherRealm, since they made Mortal Kombat 9, basically figured out how to do a good fighting game story where you get to play through lots of fights and you basically get to play as all the characters, but they give you actual stakes and reasons that you care. So that's cool. And part of the thing with Injustice is from the first game is that this is no real spoilers because it's kind of like the overarching theme. Basically, people mess with Superman and he turns into a bad guy, or, you know, he feels justified in himself, but he's kind of becomes a dictator of sorts in Metropolis, and he and his mates, other superheroes who support him, kind of end up fighting Batman and all his mates, i.e. people who support Batman. So there is some weird kind of combinations, like Harley Quinn is on Batman's side, even though she's a Batman enemy, but she's an enemy of Superman, so she and Batman are together kind of thing. And there's weird mix-ups like that. So in Injustice 2, it's kind of more of the same in a way, although there's another enemy that's appeared. And so far I've played through and I've played as Batman, I've played The Flash, I've played Green Lantern, I've played Bumblebee's in there, whole bunch of different people. Harley Quinn's probably my favorite so far. She's got some really cool moves. But yeah, I just thought it's a quick and easy fighting game kind of story to play through. And it's got that quality NetherRealm seal of approval. So it's definitely very cool. Another game that I started just today, actually, and I'm working my way through, is a classic old point and click called The Last Door. Although I don't think it's very old because it was kickstarted to be a classic old school style point and click. And I noticed that, again, must have picked it up in a bundle somewhere, but The Last Door and then the sequel I have as well. So I thought, well, I'll give them a go. And I've really enjoyed it so far. It's this mystery kind of story where you're playing as a character who gets, at the very start of the game, a friend from your childhood commits suicide and leaves you a note. And it's very kind of dark, semi-horror, mystery, occult, religious themed kind of game. And your friend who commits suicide gives you leaves you a note to basically say, hey, help me out. Go back and check out, you know, our boarding school where we grew up and everything, and solve this mystery to help me out and whatever. So you're like, okay, so you start investigating it, and you go back to what used to be your boarding school, but is now like it's just nuns and priests who are taking care of sick people. But it seems like, are they taking care of sick people? Because you find things like people who appear to be alive locked in coffins, but are they? Because you're kind of tripping out a bit as well. And you have flashbacks to when you were a child and how you might have been treated when you're in boarding school. But then there's like this weird priest character who's like got some cult shit going on and is like performing rituals and things. And you're just kind of uncovering this mystery the whole time. And I don't know where it's going specifically yet because I haven't finished it. But what I am loving about it more than anything is that it is very much a classic point and click. It's not trying to be anything else. It's very like blocky pixel graphics and animations. It looks like original kind of Monkey Island style graphics. You've got a big crosshair, which is your cursor that you use to click on things. And it's just, yeah, it's nice to see a Kickstarter game that actually is trying to emulate that old school point and click style. Because I've backed Kickstarter projects which said they were going to do that and never did, and really annoyed me. I'm looking at you, Broken Age. But that we can talk about that another time, but that whole Kickstarter campaign pissed me off big time. But anyway.
This game is actually like almost 10 years old right now.
Well, there you go. I mean,
holy
cool.
Crap.
But it's emulating like 90s point and clicks, like old school stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying it. And it's very well put together. It's not hard. It didn't take any effort to get running. I just kind of loaded it up and off I go. There's no issues with like resolutions or, you know, weird cutscene things, or it just works. So I'm happy. And I'm really looking forward to finishing it because it's actually got me quite interested and I'm a bit hooked at the moment. But finally, the last game I played kind of is a bit of a thorn in my side at the moment because I can't remember if I mentioned it on a previous episode, but they're making a new Tribes game. And Tribes, for anyone who doesn't know, is a very old franchise of multiplayer games, usually capture the flag kind of games and that kind of thing. But back in the day, they were known for having huge maps and larger player counts. Like they'd have 64-player maps in the 90s.
Oh,
and
crap.
It worked. So you'd have 32 on each team, and you'd be on these huge maps where you have to like spend a good couple of minutes just getting across them. And yeah, it was its own kind of thing. And it's one of my favorite multiplayer games ever is the Tribes series. So when I heard they were making Tribes 3, which is called Tribes 3 Rivals, which is in development right now, I got super excited, went and read everything I could about it to find out what they're doing. Noticed they had a playtest thing you could sign up for on Steam. So I'm like, yep, sign me up. And then I downloaded the game and everything after I got accepted, went to play it and went, oh, at the moment, they're only doing like timed playtest days, basically, where you kind of have to be on their Discord to find out when it's happening. And it's only for like a 24-hour window, and then you can't play it until the next one because it's very early development. So it's fair enough that that's how they're doing it. Like, I get it. It's all good.
I don't know how early development because it's planned to release on Q1 of this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's questionable. Like it's very polished. It's not janky at all. It's not like, oh yeah, they need to finish making this. Because I did get to play it very recently. I happened to just randomly, I don't know how, but I randomly saw someone on some website mention that there was a playtest happening like last weekend or sometime at the time of recording this. And so I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to jump in and play it, which I did. And the first time I loaded it, it kind of crashed and I had to restart it and do all that kind of stuff. But that's fine. You know, again, it's in development. That stuff doesn't bother me.
And it's a playtest.
Exactly.
You accepted it knowingly.
Yeah, the point is that things are meant to break. So that's cool. But I loaded up again and I managed to get into a game. And I spent about 5 minutes going, oh, this is so cool. I remember this. Oh, yeah, what a great game. And like it felt good and I was enjoying myself. But then I realized that I was on a North American server while playing in Australia. So that meant lag. And it just became a exercise in futility because every time I spawned, I basically got killed before I even knew what was happening. Because there are people playing it who've been playing it way longer than I have and are way better than me at it and don't have the lag that I have. Not that I'm entirely blaming lag, but I used to be decent at Tribes. I used to be pretty good. And yeah, this time I'm just getting like totally ganked every time. Like I didn't even get to look around the map very much or try out different weapons or anything like that. So I kind of decided, hey, that was fun, but I'm just going to uninstall it and wait till it's released.
Yeah.
And wait till there's Australian servers. And there is, I did read a lot in the forums. There are a lot of people whinging about the game and talking about how it's not the game they wanted and all this kind of stuff. But I kind of reserve judgment on that because the last Tribes game that came out was one called Tribes Ascend, which ended up becoming a free-to-play game with like weird monetization stuff that kind of killed it and ruined the player base. And it just kind of ended up dying hard. But before that happened, I played a lot of it and I really enjoyed it. And I've seen people complaining that this new one is very much like Ascension as opposed to being like the first two games, which are much, much older. But I quite liked the newer Ascension style without all the crappy monetization and, you know, microtransaction-y pay-to-win stuff that they put in there. And like they even had weapons behind paywalls that were objectively better than other weapons and stuff like that. So if you paid more, you were better at that game and you won more. And that's kind of a bad thing. So I actually sat down for a minute and kind of thought about my experience playing Tribes 3 and getting my ass kicked and playing with lag on a North American server and just going, my perspective on these things has definitely changed over the years. And it taught me a few things about myself. And I learned that this is not my bag anymore. And once the game comes out, I'll be very happy to pick it up and play it. And because I love Tribes, and I'll maybe find some other people on a more local server who I can play with. But until then, I don't really need to go into the playtest and try things out and do all that stuff and get my ass handed to me. And, you know, I'd just rather go play something I can have fun with and not stress about. So I kind of had to, because I love Tribes. Like Tribes is such a good series. And I've put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into Tribes games in the past, just from playing, endless nights of just playing Tribes all night when I was younger and that sort of thing. And so to not want to jump into this playtest kind of is really weird in my head, because I'm like, but this is one of the best games and best series ever. Why do you not want to try it out? But I'm like, yeah, I got better shit to do. I'm older now. I got other things going on. There are other games to play. Even that in itself, I'm just like, I could play something else that's way more productive. But so in a way, it kind of taught me a little bit about myself. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I don't think I'll be signing up for any kind of pre-alpha gameplay or anything anytime soon. I'll just wait till it's released and reserve my enjoyment till then. So yeah, but that's all I've been playing. I mean, I have been playing a few other things, but nothing that's really interesting enough to talk about, because it has been a while since we've talked about games, and I probably could have done a whole podcast just on the random crap that I've been trying out. But yeah, that's the main stuff. And that's about where I'm going to sign that off. So let's talk about our topic, though. Now, when listeners, when Paula and I were talking about special limited editions and that kind of thing, my response was, well, I don't buy games physically, or I don't buy limited editions, so I don't really know if I have much to add. So this is happily probably going to be mostly from Paula, but because I know you've got a bunch of good collector's edition stuff, Paula, and you've probably got a few things to say about them.
Especially since I'm a sucker like for extra nicks and knacks and pops, especially when it comes to Otome games, because who doesn't want like a cute little enamel pin or something like that with their stuff if you are really into a particular character? But that aside, oh, and then I have to add like to the special limited collector day one editions, etc. The store limited editions too, because that is a thing in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So more on that later. So first of all, what are they? Well, as the name implies, this type of editions of a game pretty much started as a way to, I guess, more like a way to monetize the game further, in a way.
Mm.
Especially like with some of the more intense fans of a particular media, like I think physical special editions came first and digital came later, mainly because how that's how the cookie crumbles, in my opinion.
Well, and I
But
think it kind of flows from other forms of media as well. Like I know, as someone who still buys CDs and stuff, you can get like limited edition CDs that have extra stuff on them. And
yeah,
I know definitely in like early 2000s, a lot of CDs would come with like multimedia content on it as well, not just the music album that you've bought. So you'd get like video clips and things as well that you could play. But and I know there's like special edition movies and stuff you can get with, especially on DVDs and Blu-rays, with like extra stuff, like extra documentaries or commentary and that kind of thing. And I think games just kind of ended up picking up the same thing, really, and
yeah.
doing.
And funnily enough, they're like first run slash day one edition books too.
Yeah.
So there's things for everyone. So in a way, it's both a way to entice fans to buy the product, but in that case, you usually want them to already know the product. So they're usually done like with long running franchises and stuff, like Zelda, for instance, or Pokemon.
Hmm?
Although Pokemon is not so much, but that's the point. But also like in visual novel games, or like generally, they are also done like in physical editions for indie games, since the indie game is usually at a cheaper price. When they do a physical edition, is not unheard of that they include like physical goodies like a postcard or something like that. or even like just the physical edition being kind of special because it's a limited run of some kind. So there are like all kinds of reasoning behind the limited editions. On the digital side, they're usually done to induce FOMO on the player and try to get them to get your game as fast as possible for as much money as possible. So we were talking a little bit about this before recording, and just said that he has like a lot of examples on content being cut from the game and included like in the day one edition or something like that, just because.
Well, I think famously there was I want to say it was Mass Effect 3, where if you pre-ordered, you got a whole not just mission but like storyline based on the alien race who's like central to the entire freaking story. Whereas if you just bought the game, you didn't get any of that. And a lot of people, got angry about that because that storyline is kind of central to the whole story of the series. So it's not just some extra side content that you're missing out on. It's you literally kind of almost have to do it if you want to play through the story. And that kind of stuff annoys me.
Yeah.
That annoys a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah, and well, there are like things done so like you can buy the game for $10 more and you get like I don't know this ride that is exclusive to this version of the game, and you get to play the games like 3 or 5 days earlier. So
Yeah.
like the game is done.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, and I can kind of, just to butt in a bit, I can kind of see why they might want to do that, because game prices haven't gone up in like 30 years, well, probably 20 years, I'd say. Like, they've pretty much stayed fairly consistent, but they've managed to bring them up by adding those extra bits and going, oh, you want the deluxe version, which is twice the price or something. But you get some like in-game cosmetic crap that doesn't really count for much. Or you get some like physical collectible stuff that's kind of cool. And I can see the appeal for that kind of thing. But I know from especially Assassin's Creed are a good one for this because Ubisoft love doing it. If you buy the deluxe versions, you get like special in-game costumes for your character, which, don't mean anything, but just kind of a little extra thing you can play with. And, they try and add value in ways that don't break the game, but also make you want to spend more money.
Yeah, definitely. Though there are cases where the things you get do break the game, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I cannot think of one example of that right now, but I'm pretty sure they exist, and I'm pretty sure I heard about them, but I can't recall them from the top of my mind. But also, like, I get that the prices of game development has increased a lot, but in one hand, you have the AAA studios saying like, we have to make the game bigger and better and more gooder looking and stuff like that, and they have these huge ass budgets and they try to make the game as enticing to everybody, so they have to make because they have to make a lot of sales to uh, earn back like all the money they spend on the budget. But it's sad because that in a way has killed like smaller experiences done by bigger studios.
Yeah.
In a way. But that is not the topic for today, so let's move back to special agents. So I'm not one to get a drag into a game because of their digital special editions. I'm more into the collector's aspect of some of these physical collector's editions. And I usually like pretty happy when it comes like with an art book or like with a little story like that gives more information like in it to the world, or like a side story or something like that. In the case of some Otome games that come with a booklet. Um, but I'm also a sucker for a good soundtrack. Not gonna lie, and yeah, I'm that person who still listens to CDs on 2024. Um, But also I like when they come like with figures or like keychains or even like the Otome Day One editions that come with the character cards. The Day One editions don't cost any more money than they cost like later.
That's cool.
But they come with these character cards, and since Otome fans are pretty much starved for merchandising here in the West, we eat that shit up because holy crap, I have a character card of my favorite character. But also like I guess some of the my favorite ones have to be like the Vita special editions for Wintertide Miracles.
Right.
Could realize because it comes with these little acrylic figurines of all of the TV versions of the characters. And well, I got that one at, I think it came out at $70. Don't quote me on that. But at the time, or like $80 at most. But at the time, since the dollar was very cheap, probably like 60% of the actual value right now. Holy crap, the dollar has balloon in price now that I think about it.
Yep.
We actually got it like for a very good price and almost like the SRP price that is that the regular version was here in Chile. Like uh, not much more expensive. So that is probably like one of my most favorite little piece of collector things that come into those collector editions.
Hmm.
I also remember Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition on Switch that came with an 200 or 300 page art book.
Nice.
And it also had like some storyboards on that on there, and it was amazing. And that one cost like $80. And it was like, holy crap, I need that in my life. I haven't played the game, but holy crap, I've used the art book for reference. No, I do not buy the game for the art book. Well, I do sometimes, but fuck it, it's my money.
Oh yeah.
The other, or one of the cutest ones has to be the Liar Princess and the Blind Prince, which, by the way, the overall aesthetic of the game is like kind of like a storybook. So for the physical edition, they pretty much went out with the like they pretty much turned it up to 11, like going with the storybook aesthetic. And it actually comes with a storybook that has like the main part of the story or like the setting of the story, and it is beautifully illustrated too, like it was meant to be all along.
That's cool.
And it comes with the music city too, and it is beautiful. But also, like they put so much care on the quality of the paper on the little storybook, the illustrations, writing, and even like the texture of it. Like it has like a wooden texture to it with golden engravings. So like they put so much love to it, and it's just beautiful. It isn't like even like a well-known game. It's just an experience that got like a physical release, and I got to experience it that way, and it was beautiful. um
Yeah,
but I
nice.
think the studio is kind of well known. Like Audience Sphere seems to be like, maybe it was Audience Sphere. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but I feel like Audience Sphere was one of the games they made too.
Mm-hmm.
But also, there's one more thing that I mentioned, that in Japan, for some games, since the stores want you to pre-order the games because they get more money that way, but also they want you to spend money at their store. They have limited editions, like cool knickknacks that you get for buying at that particular store. So I'm gonna send you this. So for Pure Fury 1926 in particular, not only you have the physical versus the special edition that on the base game, that's the one that Automate did. And you get like a booklet and a CD, a drama CD, sorry, with a little story in it on the on the limited edition.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a pre-order bonus that is a separate drama CD that you can only get if you pre-order, like if up until the stock lasts. But also there's the store bonus. So, and even in the store bonus, depending on how much you want to pay, you can get like some stuff or all the stuff that's available.
Yeah, wow.
Well, for example, I got one of the F10 packs, and at the time, I don't know why, but I don't know why, but I had like quite a bit of store credit on Amazon Japan. And on Amazon Japan, for some reason, they have the F10 stuff, even though they were in F10. Even though Amazon Japan has their own little bonus too.
Yep.
So for the base F10 pack, you get like a little postcard, a poster, an A3 poster that's made out of cloth, drama CD, and the grand total of 7 character pins, and they're like 5 centimeters in diameter, which is quite big for one of those pins. You can pay a little bit more and get an additional 7 pins with the chibi art for the characters, or you can pay a lot more, and that's the version that I did not get. And you can get a wine glass, like with the logo of the game.
Yeah, that's pretty epic.
And it's quite beautiful. And I was like, since there was like I don't know why, but this particular physical edition had a deep discount, and I feel like the cap added a total or like $30 or so, $20 to $30 to the total of my order. But I was like so panicky about it breaking that I ended up not getting it. But I did get like everything else in the back, and I actually have that poster still like hanging in my room. I made a lot of decorations with all the character pins. I even like listen to Drama City, even though I don't understand a lick of it. Okay, I understand a little bit of it now, but I didn't understand a lick of it at the time I bought it.
Nice.
And you know what the funniest thing is? Before I tried to play this in Japanese, and not long after, the game got announced in English. So it was like, well, at the very least, I did get a ton of merchandising for relatively cheap because there was like such a steep discount on it.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, this was one of the last games that I bought in Japan, like that were like just in Japanese and didn't have like multilingual. Because holy crap, it's not fun having to buy the game twice just because you want like that cute little thing that came with the collector's edition. And that's just one of the let me see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, holy crap, like 16 different store bonuses for this one game. So it isn't unheard of in Japan that someone would just go out of their way to buy all the like there is like more than one a store special edition from the game just to get all the cute merchandising of their favorite character.
Yep.
to the point that I remember seeing like some kind of news. I don't remember if it was on Atomic Game or not, but someone bought 33 copies of a particular game just to get out the collectibles. And they were like then selling the extra copies on Twitter without the extra collectibles just to regain some of the money. So yeah,
That's
merchandising
dedication.
yeah, that's dedication, and that's having that money or like having credit or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is like collector's editions in general are such a hit or miss bag because some will come with what was that, the Fallout 76 that was supposed to come with like a cameo bag or something like that, camo bag or something like that.
Yeah, it was meant to be like a
And
rad army duffel bag, but it turned
a
out to be
duffel bag, yeah.
some shitty plastic thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or you can get like everything you wanted like from a game, like a figurine or something, and then you only get the code for the game.
Yeah.
Like why? But I have to say, like, there are game companies that know how to make collector's edition, and there are like those who don't.
Absolutely. Well, and even as someone who doesn't really, like I say, I'm not really into buying collector's editions and things or physical games even. These days I tend to buy everything digitally because that's just how I prefer it. I can definitely see the appeal though for all that extra stuff you get in a collector's edition, because actually I was looking around my room and I actually do have 2 collector's edition games, like physical games, sitting on my shelf, which I'd totally forgotten about. And I can I've been looking through them just while you've been talking as well. And one of them is the Galactic Edition for Spore. Remember Spore?
Wow. Oh, yeah.
So that comes in a box, and you get a hardcover, lots of pages art book, which is kind of
That's
cool.
nice.
But then in the actual game, you get the game disc, and you get a DVD of the making of. But then you get an actual physical instruction booklet and a big poster as well with it. So that's kind of cool. But I bought that ages, like, I can't even remember how long ago it was. But the other one that I've got is more what you're talking about with limited runs and stuff. It's from there's a mob called, I think they're called Indie Box, and they do physical versions of otherwise digital indie games. And there's this game called Assault Android Cactus, which is a twin-stick shooter made by some Australian developers. And I got really into it for a while. So they did a physical release of it, which I bought. And there's a bunch of stuff in it. But the cool thing is it's got the game in it, but the game comes on a USB, which is like a little rubber enemy from the game. So it's a cool kind of USB stick to have, but it's got the game on there as well. So you can just kind of plug it in anywhere and play it. But then it comes with like some stickers and a CD of the original soundtrack and a physical instruction manual, some like character kind of pin things. And the coolest thing though is the main character in the game is a interplanetary police enforcer. So you get, I'm showing, for listeners, I'm showing Paul this on my camera. You get like a police badge of the main character.
Cool.
So there's like one side, it's like a little flip open thing like you've seen in the movies. So one side has an actual metal badge that's from the interplanetary police. And the other side is like the character's ID with a photo and like details and all that kind of stuff and like place of birth and signature. So that's like just a little thing that they made that's like really, really cool because you wouldn't get it anywhere else. But yeah, I can definitely see the appeal for it. And there's some like collector cards and stuff as well and some other stuff. But yeah, even though I don't buy them, I can 100% see the appeal because you get some cool collectibles or just cool shit from something that you're into. I think is always fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at it's kind of like a good one, but also a funny one. and I'm gonna send it to you like on the chat. Maybe we could get those on screen at some point.
For anyone listening, for this particular episode with collector's edition stuff, I'm going to attempt to put some images in the video version of the podcast. So if you are listening to this elsewhere and you want to check that out, have a look at YouTube and look for the Hell on to Beat podcast on there to get some visuals to go along with it.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Potentially, if anything goes well. So join Josh right now, the Cupid Parasite Collector's Edition. And it comes with a steel game case, which, by the way, I modified it to be like a multi-holding game case. Well, you also get like the regular Nintendo Switch case with the game on it. You get 2 audio drama CDs, and an art book, which, by the way, it is a hardcover art book and it's pretty well done. And it has like concept art from the characters and stuff. The big one is like this 6 keychain set with all the characters from the game. The funny thing is that when they reveal this collector's edition, and if you go to the store page even, the 6 keychain is replaced by a question mark because that is actually a secret route. The funny thing is that when I received the limited edition back at home, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna go see the character keychains. They didn't put the 6 character in any particular spoiler-free package. So I went into the game knowing who the 6 character was. So it was like, okay, you made an attempt. You made a real attempt of not showing the character. Like if you see, like in the various images of the CD, of the collector's box, of the Switch cover, of the steel game case, and everything else, you only see those 5 characters. Like they really put a lot of effort on only having those 5 characters there. They even like went out of their way to blur or obscure the 6 character on the keychain art. Why on earth would you not finish the job putting the 6 character keychain on a little paper bag with a question mark? And even like in the official art book, you can see like the 6 character too if you like really look into it, but it's more hidden. And I think there was like a warning saying like, hey, don't look at this because spoilers. You took every step but the last one to have this character hidden, and that I just found that like so funny for some stupid reason.
Seems like a bit of an oversight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really love the game. I like the localization. They did a very good job with it. And even though there were like some troubles, like with one of the routes in particular, they did go back and patch the game and make it so you can play the game without any grammatical errors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a fantastic job. But they had to fuck up the one little bit of not having the character being spoiled. So that's just hilarious.
Yeah, that's rough.
At the time, we actually made fun of it on Twitter on the Tomy community because it was so fucking funny.
Nice.
So yeah. The other like notable special edition, and this is probably like the last one because holy crap, I could be like talking about special editions all the way because I fucking love them. It's the one for well, it just left my mind. Never mind then. Oh, the Shin Megami Tensei 5 special edition of it. And that's when I religiously check Amazon every day until they said, hey, this is gonna be released at on this date in particular, at this time, on this time zone. And holy crap. That day I forget to check the Amazon page, I just got a notification like from Twitter or something saying that it was available. And I haven't ever like rushed to buy anything like so quick in my life. And I got it. I fucking
Nice.
got it. And I also got the day one edition for my boyfriend, but I fucking got my collector's edition. And that
Nice.
collector's edition has a compendium, a demon compendium with the art of all the demons present in the game, which is sick.
Yeah.
It has the all the music of the game on 2 CDs. Obviously, it has the game, but it also has the like the steel book for the game, and it has a beautiful, beautiful bag that you can use to carry your Switch on, and have it like crossing like. It's one of those bags that you can cross on your body or carry like a purse.
Like a messenger bag.
Or something like that. It has Jack Frost, which is pretty much the mascot for the entire franchise, embroidered, like stamped on it, and I just love it so fucking much.
Nice.
But the story of getting there just at the right time as it was announced,
Yeah.
and pre-ordering it, and like seconds after I pressed like pre-order, I went back to the page and it was out of stock. Like, holy crap, I never rushed to buying a game like so quickly. And I somehow got it. And I'm so fucking happy about that. Like,
Yeah, nice.
in some of these cases, like the story behind of how you got the limited edition is just as memorable as the limited edition itself, or like even more, because of all the fuckery you have to go through when the floodgates open, and then there's a limited time for you to go through the masses of people and getting the thing you want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and that's where I think like the difference between, like, you know, as I started off thinking about this topic as something that I'm not really into because I don't really buy physical stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized, no, I am into it. Like, I can understand getting cool shit with your game, like especially like art books or soundtracks or that kind of stuff as well, and figurines or something. I think one of the ones I remember from a long time ago, even though I'm not really super into Halo, but I remember there was a Halo game where you got a Halo helmet, like a Master Chief helmet.
Yeah, I seen that.
And I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, if you're into that game, that's got to be like the best thing you can get, really.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it was super expensive, but obviously it's not meant for everybody. But I think the thing that puts me off, if to just kind of think about that for a second, is pretty much anything digital other than the soundtrack I don't really care about. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in. Even like a PDF art book, I want a physical art book. I don't want a PDF. Like,
Yeah.
and I think most of the stuff they give you digitally always seems like it's either something that should have been in the game in the first place, if it's game related, or it's something that's just useless because it's not something that should be in the game. It's just like, you know, a different hat or something, and who cares? But there was another physical one, I think, where you got like it was an Alien game from a long time ago, and you got like a full xenomorph statue with it. Because I remember thinking that was freaking cool. But again, it was like super expensive because it was worth it, but it was super expensive. And I obviously didn't get it because it was super expensive. But I definitely can see the appeal for that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I would happily buy just cool shit to put on my shelves. But I think what really kind of puts me off or makes me kind of a bit dark on the whole special edition stuff is when it's digital things that I can't really see much value in. Like, not to say because it's digital, it's more because often digital stuff is like, you know, something cosmetic, which who cares, or, you know, some kind of, it seems kind of half-assed a final thought. They've gone, oh, what can we add to this digital edition? Oh, well, we've got some concept art. Cool, yeah, throw that in. And like, it doesn't seem like it's had a lot of care put behind it. Whereas things like looking through the couple that I was just looking through at my desk, like some of those items you can tell they had to work on and decide and design and put together to make it cool and really good. And they had to put in some effort to actually make it worth the extra money. And I think that's really cool. But yeah, if it's kind of like half-assed and crappy, kind of like that Fallout 76 bag, where if it was a good bag, everyone would have been like, yeah, this is rad and worth it. But they obviously just did it cheap and didn't think about it, and very rightfully got dragged over the coals for it. So
Oh, there's another one that is so crappy, but I can't remember which game it was. I think it was like some Marvel game, like the one with all the Marvel heroes, and it has like a rocket figure. I'm gonna say Captain America or Captain Marvel figure, a Hawkeye figure. It was 4 figures of characters. That I haven't like seen it like firsthand, but it seems like they were like not the best quality, but good enough, I guess, for the price. But also it was supposed to come with a set of the Infinity Stones, and they were like supposed to light up and stuff like that.
yeah, there's
And
like
if
a
you see the
shit.
picture, it's just a bunch of eggs, Easter
Yeah.
eggs.
And there was like a really crappy Thanos glove or something that came with it. And yeah, it sounded really cool, but it was actually just cheap plastic crap.
Yeah, I don't remember the Thanos glove. I remember like the box with the eggs, and you couldn't like take the eggs from the box because the box had all the things to make the eggs light up, and it was like, holy crap! People were playing premium for this Fisher Price toy. I'm sorry to Fisher Price. That's probably an insult to them, but it's
They make
just,
good
I
stuff.
don't
So
know. Yeah, not good stuff.
yeah, and I think that's kind of I can appreciate people getting annoyed at that, because it's kind of a two-way street. It's like you're saying, hey, developer or publisher or whoever, I'm willing to give you more of my money for your game so that you make more money. But in return, you're going to give me something to make me feel like it's worth it. Because obviously it's not
Yeah.
actually worth it, because otherwise they wouldn't be selling it to you. But,
Yeah.
you know, they're making money regardless. So you're overpaying for whatever you're getting. But that's just the way the world works. But if it makes you feel good and you go, hey, this is some cool crap that I paid too much for, but I'm happy to have, then that's cool. But if they start taking the piss like that and like, yeah, give you some absolute garbage in return for, you know, an extra $50 sometimes or more, yeah, it's kind of shit.
Yeah.
But the good stuff's good.
Yeah. And sometimes when there's bad stuff, it's so bad it is good.
It's good when it's happening to other people. Yeah. Like that Fallout 76 bag, I thought that whole situation was hilarious because I didn't buy it. So
But if I would have bought it, I would be fuming.
totally.
So, like the one limited edition for the this one was the limited edition or the dancing collection for the Persona rhythm games on the PS4. So it came with both Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost, I think, was $100 or something like that. And it was supposed to come with an art book and a digital copy for a PlayStation version of Persona 4 Dancing All Night, which, by the way, that has to be the definite version of that game and looks so fucking good. But I had to buy crap with it because the Persona 3 one wasn't like too bad. Persona 5, like they didn't think about the music they were putting in. That music isn't danceable. The dances are kind of dumb. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. But the music wasn't like kind of like rhythm game music. Like instead, like in the Persona 4 Dancing All Night, like they either adapted things to be like rhythm game music. They were like very good adaptations, but they didn't put that much effort on the other versions of the other games. But that aside, it was supposed to come with an art book. You know what they did? Instead of giving you like a game case for each game and then giving you a separate art book, they said, hey, what if the art book was a game case? And also that shit wasn't an art book. It was like just a collection of screenshots of the game. And it was shit. And it was so fucking mad. Like the only good thing that came into that version of the game was the Persona 4 Dancing All Night for PS4 version. So I finished all three. Like I finished the other two games. I got my code. I got Persona 4 Dancing All Night on PS4, and then sell the shit out of the other thing for a cheap price because holy crap, no one wanted that fucking thing, if not by for only a few bucks. So yeah, rental.
Well, I think that sums it up really.
Yeah.
With that bombshell, yeah. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. I usually really like that's the only time I've been burned by a limited edition.
Mm-hmm.
Every other time I buy a limited edition, I'm so happy with what I get for the price I got it at, even though I probably play it overpriced. But usually I find that the quality is good enough, or like the things are very cute. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Except for you, Persona Dancing All Night Collection. Fuck you. So yeah, I say do your due investigation. If it sounds too good to be true, like the Marvel thing, it probably is. If there's a history of someone like making shitty things with collector's edition, probably don't buy from them.
Yeah, don't buy Bethesda stuff.
Usually, from my experience, the collector editions that I get are very good, very quality, and overall they're a fun time. So yeah, any final thoughts from you?
No, I just yeah, I think for my money, I can understand people getting into physical stuff because I buy merch from things anyway, and like little knickknacks and whatnot. But I just don't understand the whole digital thing. So it's like, to me, it's like trading cards on Steam. And I know people who get into it a lot and trade them a lot and stuff, but I just don't understand the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Steam and you're basically printing money.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So yeah, that's all I've got on that.
Well then, after that, let's go to our final round of Guess the Game. The name of the game is to guess the game. Whew. So it is just time to see if I can beat my score, or if by some magic reason we end up tying and we do a tiebreaker right here right now. So let's see. I've picked a game. Yeah, this is a game. I would be worried if it was not.
Good start.
For the main story, it is 12 hours.
Ooh.
And according to like how long to beat, it is the same one. Yeah.
Good place to look.
Good place to look. So I'm looking right now for a thing that is not too spoilery. Because yeah, that one is that's spoilery. Who wrote their thing on parties? Someone also like made a comment like only telling another game that I was looking for, but anyway.
I mean,
okay, let's go with this one. Awesome game with an interesting dark story.
That is quite open. Let's think. Awesome game with an interesting dark story, and it's about 12 hours long.
Yeah, and this, well, holy crap, where did I leave the comment? Okay, this person beat the game in 9 hours, so that's under the how to beat average.
I'm thinking dark story is probably the best one to think about. So we want some, dark stories. Something that's not necessarily happy, or it's not going to be a super horror because I haven't played many horror games, I would imagine. So, but it could be quite disturbing because I've played a lot of disturbing games. Because I do like that. Dark. 9 to 12 hours is like not quick. That could be quite an average gameplay. I mean, that could be something like Spec Ops: The Line. No.
Nope.
Because that's kind of dark. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need more than that. Hit me with another one.
Okay, the time for medium plus is 15 and a half hours.
Okay.
But this particular player took 17 hours and 35 minutes. Their comment is pretty throughout, but missed a few diaries.
Are you saying pretty thorough?
Thorough, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. I was just blanking a bit and not understanding. So pretty thorough and missing a few diaries. So diaries. But missed a few diaries, okay. So a dark story that has diaries and takes about 15 hours. Because that makes me think of something like even like a Gone Home. Not that that's really a dark story, that's actually quite an uplifting story. But you find diaries and things, but it's much shorter than that. What else uses diaries and things to tell? I mean, it wouldn't be something like a BioShock or something like that.
It is.
It is? Oh my god.
It is BioShock. God damn it.
Yeah, crazy. I don't know. See, dark story isn't the first thing that jumps to my mind about BioShock, even though it is a dark story, so...
Yeah, like most of the comments talk about audio diaries, so I knew if that would like give it away right away. But also most of them talk about rescuing like the little sisters, and it was like, oh no, I cannot include that in the hint. I would be shooting myself in the foot.
That would definitely give it away, yes.
And with that, you win this round.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I was not expecting to get that at all. But I think it was mostly it's funny how the things that do tip you off, like the length and then finding diaries. For some reason, that just said BioShock to me. So
yeah, I suspected as much.
Oh, so this is our last one, is it?
Yep. Okay, the score tally is 17 to 18. Just one fucking point, and Josh gets to pick a game that where the
total average I think is a good one to work off.
Yeah, the all styles average.
Yeah,
is 18 hours or less.
Gonna have to have a little think about that one, and yeah. What game do I want you to play that's around that? We shall reconvene, and I will reveal all later on when I actually figure out what that could be. But yeah, well done. That was nice and close. I think there were times there where I thought I was going to never get anywhere near you, and you definitely made it difficult.
But definitely, like once we define that price of getting to pick a game, holy crap, you were like, I get to pick a game? Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, I just got lucky, really. But yeah. Oh, cool. We'll see what happens. We'll, reconvene at a future date to discuss further.
So yeah, with that, we close another episode of the HLTB podcast. See you next week with maybe a special topic and a special person on it.
Yes, definitely stay tuned. We've got some fun stuff kind of planned for 2024 that hopefully will see the light of day.
Hopefully. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. It'll be great.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Hey Josh, your lawyer called. They say to stop talking about demolishing buildings the way you're doing because it seems that you're like quite knowledgeable about it.